what we are going to focus really on is how collaboration has evolved over a period of time, and especially in the last few years, primarily driven by COVID, right? There is a whole lot of collaboration equity, which is a center of an organization culture, which a lot of HRs, a lot of CEOs are really focusing on. Let's quickly see how it has evolved and like where we started and what organizations are focusing on today. Coming back to collaboration, it's nothing new. We have been collaborating for ages, for decades. There has been technologies and tools which has enabled us to do that. But trust us, the last few years, like when COVID hit us badly, everything got frozen, everything got standstill, right? And thanks to IT leaders, we were swift enough to move from a physical office at work environment to a hybrid remote work environment, right? That needed people to work from anywhere, any place, any time, any device, right? Ensuring that you give access, a secured access to your corporate data, corporate applications. People were using Wi-Fi from their home. People were using Wi-Fi, the public Wi-Fi. Now, while we managed to get people back to work in some form or the other, it also opened up a lot of challenges around security, right? How do I ensure that like I am giving access to the right person, to the right device, to my right application? While I give access to my application, do I have control over the data which is being accessed, right? These are challenges which was faced by a lot of IT leadership, right? And while we are getting back to work, and we have been trying to address these challenges, but not all the challenges are addressed because a lot of IT infrastructure, which a lot of organizations today still run on, is not scaled enough to address these challenges, right? Now, while you give access to data to people while they're accessing from anywhere, today a whole lot of sensitive data is being created, right? The kind of data which is being created today is multifolds of what was getting created a couple of years back. Now, what is the kind of controls we have, right? Now, that is something which we'll try to discuss in detail. The other thing is like, especially in collaboration, right? Before COVID, a lot of collaboration used to happen inside the office. 4 of us get into a meeting room, have a discussion, come out with some action points, you go and get about with your job. During COVID and post-COVID, this is completely transformed. A lot of this collaboration happens online. There's a lot of data which is being shared internally, externally. Further down, it gets shared with your external partners. So sharing, collaboration has become viral, right? There is no stop to that. There is no end to that. And beyond a certain point, you don't have your visibility. You don't have visibility where your data is getting shared, who is accessing your data, do you have control over it, right? So these are some of the factors which a lot of organizations, a lot of IT security leaders are concerned about. We'll talk more about that in terms of how we could address a Google Cloud as a platform will be able to help you to address some of these concerns. Now, while as IT leaders, we are gearing up and to set up those base for having a secure collaboration, providing a secure environment for your users. But trust me, the attackers are not sitting silent. They are evolving much faster than what we are trying to evolve in terms of safeguarding our security, right? And with today's innovations happening around AI, there is a new platform which attackers have got in terms of being more innovative about trying to drive an attack. So primarily attack happens around your credentials, phishing. The phishing has exploded like anything. Just go back 4 years back and the kind of phishing attacks what you see today, right? It is exploded like anything, and it's not restricting only to your email, trust me. How many of you in this room get at least one SMS per week from a phishing SMS saying that your bank account is going to be closed if you don't update your KYC, right? Your power in your house is going to be switched off if you don't update your KYC. See, a lot of us know this, but in the rush of time, even I hadn't clicked a link, right? While I stopped myself from entering any data, but trust me, these attacks have exponentially increased, right? So from an organization perspective, how do we ensure that we minimize the exposure of these attacks to your end user? And there are so many published case studies, or I would not case studies, but there are so many published instances of attacks which are available. These are just few. There are n number of unreported attacks which happens every day. We being part of the industry, we work with a lot of customers who come back to us with a situation, with a breach. We sit with the customers, we help them mitigate those situations. But trust me, the kind of news which comes up from a breach standpoint, right? It is, I wouldn't say it is not even tip of the iceberg, it is much less than that. There is so much of thing happening around the cyber attack perspective. While as IT leaders, right, we build up that stack for building up the security, but that is always an inertia in terms of getting those full security in place, because there is a whole lot of dependency on your traditional infrastructure which we have been running on-premise for so long, right? And these traditional infrastructures are not geared up to meet your current security requirements and your requirements of future of work. Now, as IT leaders, right, while we build up the security stack to ensure that we drive more collaboration among employees, because for sure we know the way of work has changed forever. It is not that we're going to get everyone to office to work from 9 to 5, collaborate in office. This is not going to happen ever. People are going to work from anywhere. People are going to work from home. People would love to have that flexibility. In fact, like when people apply for jobs, right, the first thing what they ask is like, do I have flexibility in terms of how do I do my work, right? Nobody wants to be constrained into that 9 to 5 job or a 4 walls or office, right? If this is going to be the future of work, how are we going to be geared up to ensure that we deliver that experience to users? And what are some of the parameters we, as IT leaders, as security leaders, we should be looking at? One of the first primary parameters is a secure email. Now, email has been there in the industry for quite a while. A lot of us have been using email for a couple of decades. Now, the security of the email platform has evolved, right? If you're using an email which is secure enough to probably have an anti-spam or an anti-malware, it is not secured enough, right? Is your email platform secured enough to protect you from zero-day attacks? Is your email platform able to get those signals from worldwide, right? So primarily the scale of signals what your email platform could get determines the ability of the platform to protect you against 0 days. The other one is data protection, right? While I give access of email and data to my users, what is the kind of control I have on those data which my users are accessing, right? If I'm sharing a data with a person internally or externally, can I timestamp that email? Can I ensure that that particular data, confidential data, is being viewed by an X person only? Can I probably encapsulate that with an OTP, with an MFA, right? These are some of the primary things which gets built into the platform to ensure that even at an email layer, you are ensuring your data is protected when it is being shared with external people. Now imagine a scenario you have to share a confidential data with a person outside your organization, right? And you share the data with him. Once the data reaches to him via a mail, you have absolutely no control in terms of how many users it is getting shared subsequently, right? Imagine if you could timestamp that and wrap that with an MFA, right? So that only that person can view that email. Even if he forwards to the other person, he'll not be able to view it, right? So that's an underlying data protection which is built into the email layer as well. Zero trust. Now, zero trust is it's a very fluid thing which everybody is talking about, right? But coming back to collaboration and user experience, zero trust is, I will not trust anything, right? Whether you're joining from a corporate network, whether you're joining from a corporate device, I'm going to challenge you for everything, right? If I'm going to give access to a standard application, I'm going to challenge you with an MFA. If I'm going to give access to a critical applications like a finance application, I'm going to further challenge you with a further authentication, right? So I'm not going to trust you for anything. I'm going to challenge you at every portion of your access. Content editors. How many of you in this room believe that, like, okay, just to give a little bit of insight in terms of what content editors is. Content editor is nothing but your Word, Excel, PowerPoint, right? The equivalents of that in Google Workspace, we have Sheets, Docs, right? But traditionally, we all have been using content editors to create content and share content, right? Do you know like content editors is one of the biggest threat vectors and attack vectors, right? Attackers target content editors to insert malwares, right? And if these content editors are not upgraded or not up to the latest security patch, you are always carrying a risk. A lot of organizations, while they know that, it is difficult for them to upgrade a content editor on a regular basis because these editors don't come cheap. These are super expensive, right? Now, content editors is again one of the biggest threat vectors where attackers exploit to insert malwares. Now, how Google Workspace addresses this, right? So we don't have any thick line content editors. That means nothing which is offline. Everything is online. The moment everything gets online, you have absolute control over data as well as the security. Mobile device management, mobile applications management, while you intend to give access to your users on mobile device, do we have control in terms of, is the device being jailbroken? Because today, when you're talking of BYOD, right, users can probably bring in any device to access corporate applications. But do we have control in terms of to ensure that this device is not a jailbroken device? Can I put a baseline in terms of the device OS, right? The device OS, they keep on updating, and most of these updates are security updates. Can I build in a baseline? If an OS is below this version, I will deny access. You need to go and upgrade your device software, right? Mobile applications management, while you give access to corporate applications on mobile devices, can we ensure that I have to segregate my corporate applications from my personal application? When you're talking about BYOD, everybody brings in their own device. Nobody wants corporate to control their device, right? While you can still control the corporate data, what I'm accessing, but I'm absolutely not comfortable you controlling my device and my data on my device. So can a platform provide you a feature where you could control only the corporate application, right? Obviously that expands that to chat, online meetings, and identity as a service. And last but not the least, the operating system. Right. See, I've been in the IT industry for almost 2 decades, and I've seen how operating system has evolved. Right. I mean, for most of us in this room, operating system by default it has been a Windows. You buy a device, you buy a laptop, the de facto operating system which is there is a Windows. Right. But in the last decade or so, the way we are consuming applications. Earlier, most of this application we used to consume from our laptop. Probably there is a server which is running at the back end, and you connect your laptop to the server and consume that application. Today, a lot of these applications have already moved to cloud. And your window to this application is a browser, right? You don't need such a heavyweight OS sitting on your laptop with so much of vulnerabilities to access those applications which are on the cloud. What you need is a thin, lightweight OS and just one application which is your browser to access all of these business applications, right? So that's going through a huge transformation in terms of how we provide access to application in a very secured way. You see, for an IT, it is easy to manage one application rather than managing 50 applications which will be running on a laptop or a desktop. And all those 50 applications have to go through cycles of upgrade. Every time there is an OS upgrade, there is a full cycle of upgrades which happens across all the applications, and this is a vicious cycle. I mean, trust me, anybody in this room who manages IT, who manages infrastructure, I mean, this is a cycle they never come out of, right? And with cloud, there is a way out, and the way out is the Chrome browser. And all of this, what Google has to offer, Google offers Workspace, which is end user productivity and collaboration platform with all the security features built in, right? See, there is a remarkable difference between a built-in and a bolt-on solution, right? A built-in solution works very seamlessly across security, identity, data protection, and everything. A bolt-on solution, there is a lot of gaps in terms of how these aspects of security and collaboration could be met. Google Workspace is a cloud-native solution. As I mentioned, it starts with email. A lot of people in this room have been using Gmail. Anyone in this room who doesn't have a Gmail account? Great. See, that's the popularity of the platform, right? While in our personal lives, we've always used Gmail. in the enterprise version of it, it takes the experience to a completely new level altogether. And with, yeah, so touching back on security, right? See, as I mentioned, security is all about the signals and scale, right? Now, Google as a platform has got the biggest scale in terms of number of users. We have got more than 10 products with billion plus users, right? Now, imagine the amount of security stack which we have to build to ensure that these products work day in and day out, protected against all the attacks which are continuously happening around it, right? You name YouTube, you name search, right? I mean, have you experienced any of this platform going down or being breached or being attacked, right? It is not. So there is a whole lot of security stack which is built at the back end to ensure that these run day in and day out securely and giving that service to the customer. The same infra is extended to our enterprise customers as well, right? So that's when we say Google is the most secured platform for your productivity, that is basis what you are experiencing in your consumer life. Right? Okay, while we are pretty much done with the security, I just wanted to probably sign off with a small video. There is a whole lot of buzz around AI which is happening around, right? Now AI, at least from a Google perspective, is not new. There is a lot of AI which has always been running at the back end, right? Right from the simple search, what you insert, and the prompts, what it gives, right? You just type the first 3 letters and it just gives you hundreds of prompts. And 99.9% you realize that Google is already reading your mind, right? So it is nothing but there's a whole lot of AI which is running at the back end. We are just bringing those AI aspects into applications and platforms what you use on a daily basis to collaborate with people internally, externally, on applications where you use to build data. With this, I'll hand it over to my colleague, Mayank, who will walk us through what are the means and ways of protecting your mobile devices, right? Over to you, Mayank. Thank you.
Thanks, Rajan. All right. We are halfway through our particular session, so I'll just do a quick game and ask a very difficult question. How many of you are using mobile phones right now? Some of you are honest. Okay. How many of you are accessing your enterprise or corporate mail or applications on your mobile phone? All right. And how many of you sometimes wake up in the night and access that particular email which says, okay, this is the PO which needs to be loaded, or this is, an email which just came through from the CEO? How many of you do that? All right. That's good to know. So what I wanted to emphasize is that we are living in a world where work is everywhere, anywhere, and at any time. This is because we have mobiles in our hands, right? We might even see some notifications coming on our smartwatches. So this is the world that we're living in right now. But even with that, is this? Can you just check? It's not loading. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, fundamentally, if you look at the global access of enterprise applications or productivity, 87% of information workers globally say that they have somewhat of an access to their applications when they are on mobile. I mean, you might be sitting in a cab and you want to quickly access mails, you want to quickly start working on Drive, you want to quickly start working on slides. How easily can you do that? Now, amongst the global workspace, which is actually out there on the field, that's 80%. So this fleet of people operates out there in the field. Think of insurance agents, think of sales executives, think of eKYC folks, think of retailers, think of delivery folks. All of them are such set of workers wherein only 35% of them have access to additional technology to help them work in that particular space. And there is a huge mobility gap. And this space is what we call as enterprise mobility, wherein the managed devices, wherein the whole device is managed by the organization, which typically happens a lot in the government space, but even in the enterprise space as well. Think of the point of sale device which is operating inside a retail store. Very likely that's an Android enterprise device. But outside of that space, you have these unmanaged devices and also workers with no mobile access. How do you ensure that productivity keeps at a path where you can tie in with the ROI for the organization while still keeping your work-life balance into account? And that's where I just wanted to quickly highlight, while Workspace works across all different operating systems, the seamlessness of Android comes in handy, and specifically in India, where Android usage, consumer-wise, is almost upwards of 90%. The open architecture of Android across form factors gives you a lot of that flexibility to operate and manage your own enterprise-level productivity applications. So this this has a range from an Android Go device, which would have a 1 GB or 2 GB RAM device. I'm actually carrying one right now, right up to a premium device with the likes of the Pixel 7 Pros, the Samsung S22 Ultras, or the foldable devices, the flip devices. What I also wanted to highlight is that while we do have a free framework of providing Android as an open source platform for every OEM to not only use it to innovate, Android specifically across these years has been proven to be more secure than its nearest competitors and has a framework in terms of risk mitigation as well as managing security right from when the device boots up. So one of the reasons why often when you factory reset a device or the device has been shut off and you have to be forced to enter a passcode is because it's at a base level encryption that we provide. And this is where I wanted to stress upon. I'll just quickly walk through the pieces mentioned on the top because they might not be visible for the audience at the back. These are the different usages that are possible with Android. So one is, of course, your own bring your own device, which Rajan mentioned, wherein you bring your own device and start using Workspace applications. You also have what you call, and this is an industry first, often if you're a middle-level manager and a CXO, HR or the company has a policy of reimbursing or providing you with devices, like a mobile device, right? Now we have a framework wherein the mobile device, only the mobile device as a life cycle can be managed by the organization, but nothing on the device as such outside the work partition is managed or monitored or controlled by the organization. Again, I have that device with me as well. So I'll showcase one of the snapshots because we don't have a demo feature here. So that's what we call as corporate owned, personally enabled. This actually has a lot of benefits for the organization as well, not in just terms of employee productivity, but actual tax benefits because of the way assets are managed by the organization. It actually lends into easy and seamless lifecycle management for Android. And then you have the dedicated devices wherein the device is only to be used for work. This is often given out to frontline workers to make sure that the productivity, especially in remote areas or in areas where the device is conditioned to be used for work only, it just basically helps increase the life cycle of the device even further. A fun fact, I know some of you have boarded a flight to come here, so if your boarding pass was scanned on the ground by a device, that is in all likelihood an Android enterprise device. Now, what I wanted to emphasize with the Workspace experience and on top of that on Android is that you have a clear separation of personal and corporate data on your Android device. Most importantly, you have the capability to switch it off when you deem fit, right? So one of the most beautiful experiences that you often get is as soon as you switch off the work applications. So it's not just the notifications from the application get suspended. It's basically that work piece of the burden that you have in your life basically goes off for those few hours or for that pure weekend. And that's used across not just by employees, but even by CXOs for that matter. And There are tools which help you and your employees work smarter with Google Assistant, Smart Reply, and Live Caption, specifically when you're out there and taking notes. And this is how a typical deployment from Workspace on a mobile device looks like. As soon as the device powers up, you enter your Gmail ID. All the policies which are relevant for you as an employee, as part of your particular division, automatically get deployed on the device. And as Rajan mentioned, right, see, the fundamental idea is that we maximize the productivity across Google's familiar tools. And as I wrap up in the last couple of slides, what I wanted to mention is that ultimately this whole spectrum of management encompasses three themes. One is the kind of device that you're managing. So with Pixel is, of course, Google's own premium Android phone, but we work across all Android devices, starting even from Android Go. Then you have Google Workspace with a different set of SKUs, which have different mobile device management and application management capabilities, which Rajan alluded to. And then finally, you have Google Workspace with its set of easily cloud-ready applications such as Drive, Slides, something which you see on a daily basis. But I did want to point out two particular themes which will be of use to you as you go back to your organization. We have the Google Workspace Marketplace, where you can deploy different set of applications directly and integrate with Google Workspace. And of that, there is one which is called as AppSheet, where you can develop mobile applications on your own without any code. So I definitely encourage all of you to explore both these themes. And ultimately, where we sit as Android is we sit on top of any infrastructure such as Google Cloud, with its PubSub or different modules. And we provide the framework to have all of these features get deployed on two different scenarios. Again, one fun fact, if you have traveled by a Shatabdi Express and you have seen the TTs with their tablets, that's again Android Enterprise. So, and finally, while I end this particular session, I will leave the snapshots of how that experience looks like. But do engage with Google and leverage the power that we have developed, right? Rajan talked about all the security pieces that we've put in place as infrastructure to ensure that 99.9% of phishing attacks are taken care of. From a Google Play perspective, let's say if you're using Android, rest assured that almost 3 billion plus applications are scanned every day, and only 0.005% of potentially harmful apps go through. To put that in perspective, you have a 0.006% of being struck by lightning. So leverage all the capabilities that Google has built throughout these years in AI, in ML, and of course there was I'm sure you would have seen it on social media. We have had the introduction of AI within Google Workspace, where you can start leveraging the benefits of generative AI on Google Workspace. This is currently under the tester phase scenario, but this will be rolled out soon. And this is, of course, these are the snapshots. This is, by the way, these are all phones that I'm carrying. So this is this particular phone, which is managed by the organization. But as soon as it opens up, you have the work and personal separation on the managed device. And then finally, this is the Pixel 7 Pro, which I'm carrying here, which basically has the personal and work separation, and you can always pause the work applications. So take advantage of all that we have built. Now that you're mobile everywhere, also give a thought to your work-life balance, which gets enabled by all these themes. And that's what I wanted to emphasize. Use the simplicity, the flexibility that Google offers, and happy to engage more if you want to discuss more on this. Thank you.